blackout of Caracas. A digital heartbeat monitor in a Caracas command center flatlines at 1:58 a.m. local time. You watch as the telemetry for the entire Venezuelan national grid drops to 0 in 6 seconds. This is not a technical glitch or a routine failure of an aging infrastructure. It is the coordinated execution of a Tier 1 cyberkinetic strike by the United States. You see the city of Caracas vanish from the infrared satellite feed, leaving only a dark void. High above the clouds, 150 aircraft move in a silent, synchronized dance toward the presidential palace. This is the opening act of Operation Southern Spear. The rules of sovereign immunity have been deleted from the global server. Seal broken. File open. You stand on a darkened balcony in the Chacao district as the hum of the city dies. The silence is heavy, broken only by the distant, rhythmic thumping of approaching rotors. Low profile, F-35s slice through the humid air, invisible to the paralyzed Venezuelan radar systems. This is the moment, the maximum pressure. Campaign transformed into a surgical decapitation strike. You feel the ground vibrate as the first breach charges detonate at Fort Tiuna. The world you knew yesterday ended at 2 o'clock this morning. The illusion of the red line. For years, the geopolitical consensus was that direct military intervention in South America was a relic. You were told that the red line of national sovereignty would prevent such a bold strike. But the 2026 dossier reveals that the American administration was simply waiting for the perfect window. President Trump's declaration of absolute resolve was not mere rhetoric, it was a tactical countdown. By January 2nd, the military had spent 4 days monitoring specific weather patterns over the Caribbean. The illusion of a protected regime was maintained until the very second the first SEAL boots hit the ground. Who owns the law when the enforcer becomes the hunter? The catalyst for this shift was the massive accumulation of narcotics and terror finance data. The analyst notes that the U.S. Justice Department had built a digital case file that bypassed traditional diplomacy. By late 2025, the legal framework was reclassified from regime change to international fugitive recovery. This allowed the Pentagon to treat a sitting head of state as a common, high-value target. We assumed the international community could provide a shield for the Maduro administration. We underestimated the speed of a unilateral force that no longer seeks permission. The mechanics of Southern Spear. The technical execution of the raid represents a new peak in integrated special operations. Think of the operation as a digital scalpel cutting through a rusted iron curtain. While Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 secured the target, the cyber commands were fighting a silent war. They didn't just cut the power, they spoofed the entire military communications network of the FANB.
Hold position!
You see the confusion on the ground as Venezuelan generals receive conflicting orders from their own encrypted terminals.
We're locked out, sir.
The system was turned against itself, creating a fog of war that lasted exactly 40 minutes. The primary bottleneck for the U.S. was the extraction of the high-value target from a hostile city. Maduro and his inner circle were moved from the palace to the USS Iwo Jima via heavy lift transport. The analyst tracks the flight path, noting the total lack of resistance from regional air defenses. This wasn't because of a lack of hardware, but a total failure of the human in the loop. When the screens go black and the radios hiss with static, the chain of command evaporates. We have entered the era of the instant vacuum, where a government disappears before the sun rises. The power layer, the global fracture. Geopolitics has entered a state of emergency as the Southern Spear ripples across the globe. Russia and China have issued immediate condemnations, calling the arrest the kidnapping of the century. You see the tension rising in the UN Security Council as the concept of the UN Charter is tested. The ALBA bloc countries are currently placing their militaries on the highest state of alert. This is where the world's power balance begins to tilt toward a dangerous proxy conflict. This is the point where the cost of intervention becomes a global debt. The U.S. has justified the action as a liberation, but the power layer reveals a deeper motive. This is a message to every adversarial regime. The digital age provides no sanctuary for the isolated. By 2026, the ability to project power directly into a capital city has become the ultimate diplomatic lever. The analyst observes that the arrest sets a precedent that makes every sitting leader a potential defendant. The world is no longer divided by ideology, but by those who can defend their airspace and those who cannot. 2026 to 2036, the Shadow Insurgency. The decade between 2026 and 2036 will be defined by the Venezuelan Long War. While the U.S. celebrates a tactical victory, the systemic fallout is only beginning to manifest. He watches the Maduro loyalists, the Chavistas, retreat into the dense jungles and urban slums. The 2027 Caracas uprising proves that removing a leader does not remove a movement. The region enters a cycle of hard, asymmetric warfare that threatens to destabilize the entire South American continent. From 2028 to 2032, the U.S. will find itself trapped in a stability mission with no clear exit. You see the rise of the shadow cartels.
Reroute the secondary package through the tunnel.
Fill the power vacuum left by the arrested administration. These groups use the chaos to expand their influence into neighboring Colombia and Brazil. The analyst predicts that the cost of occupying the Venezuelan energy sector will exceed the value of the oil itself. We traded a predictable adversary for an unpredictable chaos that will haunt the Western Hemisphere for a generation. The victory of 2026 may be the tragedy of 2030. The human impact, the nurse's triage. You walk through the corridors of a darkened hospital in downtown Caracas, 4 hours after the raid. Elena, a 34-year-old nurse, is treating a soldier
Elena,
with a shrapnel
¿puedes
wound
ver
to the
algo?
chest. She has no power, no monitors, and her phone is a useless piece of glass. Elena remembers
Useless
the political
rhetoric.
speeches from both sides, but they mean nothing in the pitch black
I
of
need
a
suction
surgical
right now.
ward.
Hang in there.
She is the human anchor for a city in shock.
Critical.
Elena's routine
We're
of
overflowing. Where
scheduled
is Dr.
surgeries
Sharma?
has been replaced
I
by
need
the
OMAD
frantic
right now.
triage of the Southern Spear casualties. She watches as the neighborhood erupts into a mix of celebration and violent mourning. The disruption of the grid has turned her life into a pre-industrial struggle for survival. Elena realizes that the liberation feels exactly like a war. She trades her remaining clean bandages for a liter of water, wondering if the grocery stores will even open tomorrow. The regime is gone, but the hunger remains exactly the same. Does the liberation matter when the lights never come back on? The verdict, the Neo-Monroe Doctrine. The arrest of Nicolas Maduro is the opening chapter of the Neo-Monroe era. The U.S. has signaled that it will no longer tolerate adversarial presence in its own backyard, regardless of international law. The analyst's final verdict is that we have entered a period of hyper-interventionism. The power map of 2038 is being drawn with special forces and cyber payloads rather than treaties. The power map. The lever. Total dominance over the regional, digital, and electromagnetic spectrum. The bill. A decade of regional insurgency and the risk of a Russian-Chinese counter-intervention. Point of no return. The landing of the USS Iwo Jima in New York Harbor with a target. Who survives this era? Only those who can maintain internal stability without relying on a single, vulnerable personality. The era of the big man. In Latin America, died in a Caracas palace today. The era of the managed chaos has just begun. The next files on the Caribbean Cold War are now being decrypted. You close the file. The numbers are real. The timelines are closing. Whatever path we choose, the future has already begun assembling itself, piece by irreversible piece, while most of the world is still looking the other way. This was only one dossier. Many more are waiting.